Cherokees especially, they held to the British, and they honored the King of England. In 1730, a representative of the Cherokee Nation of 7 chiefs went to London and spent 4 months with the King of England over there. I know their names and the like. So they went over there and were honored guests. And of course, they came back, and the settlers here in America, they began constantly trespassing on Indian rights, or they continued trespassing on the Indian rights until the bitterness kept growing between the two. And then the settlers, one particular group, I might classify it in this way so it'll make it more understandable. They left the Yadkin settlement, of which is established down here on the Yadkin River, close to Morganton, or in that vicinity, and they began to cross the Blue Ridge Mountains over into the Tennessee country. They were crossing the boundary line that had already been established by the British and the Cherokees, and they settled on Watauga River. And they lived there for quite a little while, and the Cherokees got to complaining to the King of England that they were trespassing on their land. Well, of course, the King of England ordered the settlers over there to move out, and they refused to do so. And the King of England said, well, now you're at the mercy of the Cherokees. So the settlers over there built a fort on Watauga River, and of course it was called Fort Watauga, and sometimes Fort Lee. They built the fort, and they managed to negotiate with the Cherokees for a lease in order to stay over there. And they stayed for 10 years. They leased the land for 10 years. Then after the lease was up, the Cherokees told them to move out, and they said, we won't do it. So the fight continued. And of course the Cherokees attacked the fort. Quite a bit of history took place right there when John Sevier, as was mentioned, he saved the life of Bonnicate Sherrill and later married her. And of course the Indians were repelled, and they didn't take the fort. And from there, a band of men began, which mostly were renegades when the truth is known. The Revolutionary War came up between the colonists, the 13 colonies, and the British. And then, of course, the people over there, the settlers, they would not side with the British. But the Cherokees held true to the British and fought against the settlers in Watauga settlement. So from there, the settlers negotiated with the Cherokees and bought for commodities valued at less than $2,000 half the state of Tennessee, all the state of Kentucky, and part of the state of Virginia for a measly less than $2,000 in commodities. And I have records of where that one Indian who opposed it, and his share, he got one shirt, one white man's shirt. And he made the statement that in one day's time he could have killed more deer on the land that the Indians sold to the settlers. He could kill enough deer to sold and to bought a dozen shirts in one day's time. And he bitterly complained it, and that's when the complications rose between Dragon Canoe, Atikulakula, Ogantastoda, and other chiefs of the Cherokee Nation. And Dragon Canoe pulled out and went down in Tennessee and established another settlement down there, and they were known as the Chickamaugas.
Okay. Well, it's
lengthy answer, I'm sure.
No, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. We grew up, as you might know, with ideas maybe of what happened, and one would like to think that it had been a grand and glorious fair trade, but you realize that those things, it just didn't happen that way. And of course, it's too bad that it couldn't have been an orderly influx of white people in here and found a homeland and that sort of thing. It was a lot of grief on both sides, wasn't it? The early settlers must have had some earth-shattering times, those that really found themselves born in that area.
I have a diary, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I have a diary, or at least a portion of the diary, and some is written in Forgotten Trails, concerning one of the chiefs that met with the white settlers at Long Island, Kingsport, Tennessee now, on the Holston River. I have a portion, at least, of his speech that was made when they met there to negotiate the peace among the two, the whites and the Indians. Of course, the settlement was designed purposely. It's known as the treaty ground. Not the settlement, but the treaty ground of which that all tribes of Indians would meet and work out any problems that they might have. Well, on 1777, on this occasion that I mentioned, the white man was present. And one of the chiefs made his speech, and it's amazing when you read it to see just how thorough he was in understanding the ways of the white man and the purpose. He mentions that it seems to become a formality that on every occasion the white man is present to talk over problems with us, but the main issue is more land.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll note that when you come to it in reading Forgotten Trails. I think it's in chapter 12, I'm not sure now. But I have the diary written by the chief, or not written by the chief, it was written by a white man, and much of the beauty of his speech has been lost in the interpretation.
Well, as you mentioned, the Cherokee alphabet wasn't early enough to have recorded the history of the Cherokee Nation. So you lost your part of it, didn't you?
Right, yes. The alphabet was not written until 18 and 20.
Mm-hmm. Which was great, really, that far back, 1820. But had it been years beyond, think what you would have had.
Mm-hmm.
And all these digs, you would have found the history along with it.
Right.
Well, that's too bad. Now, perhaps we could get back to you yourself. You went to the University of Tennessee.
Right.
And majored in what? What did you know?
Archaeology.
Archaeology. That's great. We think of sometimes when I think of archaeologists, I think they're going over to Europe and Jerusalem or Egypt or somewhere and have all these finds. But your interest was this country, right?
Among my own people.
Among your own people. And I noticed also that you've had some very good luck in the Tellico Dam. Could you tell us a little about your project there? What was your part of it?
I was director in archaeological research there at the Tellico Dam area. And I spent 7 years directing all field activities in archaeological research. The thing that helped me more than anything was already I had become well versed in the history of the Cherokees, and I had access to some of the writings that the Cherokees possessed. Of course, they were written by the white man, and one of the writings that was then most helpful was the memoirs of Lieutenant Henry Timberlake, written in 1760. He spent one winter on the little Tennessee River at Echota and Tomatley, the towns located there. There were 9 towns altogether, and he gives the best description of the Indians' way of life, the Cherokees, of course, of any historian that has ever written. He describes them in features. He describes their way of cooking. He describes their whole activities and details the best that has ever been written. And he also drew up a map of that area. And we found that his map to be very accurate. He showed on his map the location of each one of the Indian towns, including Echota, which was the Cherokee capital, the city of refuge, the city of peace. And I located Echota and excavated a great portion of it. And at Echota, I located the council house, the foundations of the council house. In the yard of the plaza of the council house, we located and uncovered 3 old British cannons weighing 300 pounds each. We uncovered a host of old guns, muskets, pistols, razors, scissors, knives, copper kettles, china. And I mentioned the chiefs that went to England. I mentioned Auguntostota, or we say in Cherokee language, Augunstota. I mentioned him because he was only 18 years old when he went to England in 1730. And he was known as the war chief, or we would say the general of the army. He led the Cherokee army against the white man. And I learned that he was buried near the entrance of the council house at Echota. When he went to England, he was given a pair of spectacles by the King of England, eyeglasses. And when I uncovered the foundations of the council house, then I remembered the statement that was made that Augunstota was buried near the entrance to the council house. Sure enough, when I got it all cleared away, the topsoil, there was a rectangular pit. Augunstota he requested to be buried with Christian rituals. And we knew that he was buried in a wooden canoe, a dugout canoe. So immediately I set men to work uncovering the grave, and there was portions of the canoe still well preserved, and a skeleton that fit the physical features that had been described of Augunstota. For instance, like he was described as a man that was 6 feet tall, weighing over 200 pounds, and had a very large head. The skeleton fit exactly. But the proof of it all, there were the eyeglasses. Very good.
What a thrill that must have been to verify that find.
Well,
No doubt in your mind, was it?
It has made history in all leading archaeological field notes and books. It has made and been classified as one of the most outstanding discoveries made of that period of time.
Was that the most outstanding and the greatest dig you've ever been involved with pertaining to the Cherokee Nation?
Well, I spent 7 years there on the Cherokees, and there were so many outstanding discoveries till it would be hard for me to state which one was great. I could go into details, and I'll be showing slides concerning that this coming Saturday night at Raccoon Hollow.
Let me ask you a question. After you discover this ruins, or whatever you call it, what happened to the bodies and the skeletons and the things when the dam came through? Or did the dam well, it did cover that. Well, what did you do with the things that you had found? Did it go into the museum?
Yes, all of the material, including part of the skeletons and the bones of Augunstota, is down in the Frank McClung Museum. But unless that there was some significance that we could discover concerning the skeleton, they were reinterred. That was one of the things that I ordered strictly, that it be recorded that all skeletons, after a pathological study was made, to be reinterred as near in the same position as which we found them. because I don't think it's right for even the Indians to go and remove the bones of their ancestors and disturb them and have them on display at various places. I just resent that idea.
But the dam covered the
The
area.
dam eventually covered the whole valley, which covered Chilhowie, one town, Chilhowie, and I'm going downriver. Chilhowie, Halfway Town, Sitico, Ichota, Tonsi, Tokwa, Tomatli, Tuskegee. Tuskegee was where Sequoia was born. And Melaqua. Those were the 9 towns that have been completely covered, including the great mound at Tokwa, the mound in which one of the first white settlers in Tennessee's life was saved on the mound. She was captured at Fort Watauga in 1777 and taken to Tokwa, condemned to die, tied to the stake on the mound to be burned, and Nancy Ward, the beloved Indian woman, intervened, overruled the decision of the tribal council and the chiefs, and saved the life of Mrs. William Bean.
From Bean Station, I guess.
She lived, that's where Bean Station's name
Yeah, I've been there.
originated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you fought to keep the dam out, didn't you?
With tooth and claw.
That's too bad that they couldn't be preserved.
My whole hope in all of the work that I did there from beginning to end was to discover enough historical records to show that the whole valley merited preservation. And I fought it to the end.
Were you disappointed when it, I mean, I know you were, that's not,
That's hardly the
not a
word
good
for it.
question, I know. Right, is it hard still to this day, Judge?
Well, that's one of the reasons that I resigned my position with the University of Tennessee. I just could not stand by and watch it go underwater, knowing the history as I do. I haven't been back, and I don't want to see it.
You weren't as fortunate as we were about the dam here.
Oh, I heard about that.
That was there was a busy time around here.
The only good thing that might have come out of the Tellico Dam project is it sort of opened our eyes to what could happen to other places.
Well, it seems to me too that would this have rested in the minds of folk then say, that happened over there, but they might not have gotten around to the dig as early as they did. Do you think?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
It might have rushed that up a little bit, where you at least found it and preserved some of it. That would have been quite a place to see. Was there no way they could have avoided a flood in all the places?
Oh, so easily. It would have been so easy. They didn't have to build the dam so high to back the water up that far. It was 17 miles below there.
Well, there's even plenty of question as to whether they really needed the dam at all. I don't care how big or small. There was so many other ways.
One of these,
Is
yes.
there more?
This is concerning the dam.
Oh.
It was so unnecessary. It's not even a power generated dam. It's not even a scenic dam.
It's just a dam.
That's the best.
Do you think because that you were an Indian and you were trying to preserve this, that maybe that's one reason they didn't take it into consideration enough? I think it's going to stop it.
I just don't know. I couldn't answer either way.
Well, after you found what you did and was good enough proof, what all you've already found, what you did find and what it was covered up, that to me looks like anyone's eyes would have been enough to stop halt, you stop it, and maybe work some reroute it or